Got our first viewer. Who is it? It's happening. So today we're going to talk about something different. We're going to talk about slip solution and film adhesive because there's a lot of different films out there and there's a lot of different slip solutions out there. A lot of different options. Um, but what happens when you use the wrong option? Haha. Thank you, sir. What happens when you use the wrong option with the wrong option? What's up, Tim? What's up, Joe? Exciting. So I got an apple. Alex will be in here with us uno momento because I sent him for a task. He needed to run to the store for me. Somebody needed to run to the store for me. I mean, I could have ran to the store for me, but then I would have missed the very beginning of the show. So Alex ran to the store for me, but that meant he missed getting his cup of coffee before the show. So he's getting his cup of coffee now. He'll be right with us. So I guess let's start with what's everybody using for slip solution? What do you guys? What's our favorites? It was quick.
No, what
You know,
up, Tim?
you know what we're talking about today, Alex?
No. The wrong
As
stuff. The
the
other
wrong stuff?
methods.
No. We're going to talk about film adhesives and slip solution.
You know, I was just thinking about that. You read my mind.
Well, it's actually a big topic right now without actually being the topic. You have so many people, you know, there's a lot of good companies out there with like carbon and ceramic film, and there's a lot of good companies out there with dyed film. And I get the best of both worlds because I sell a good dyed film and I sell a good carbon and a ceramic film. And the reason it's the best of both worlds is because my dyed film, the adhesive is really aggressive on the initial tack, where the ceramic and the carbon film is not real aggressive on the initial tack. And one thing that I notice is people that use the majority of dyed film, they struggle to get the the carbon and ceramic to set up and tack well, and vice versa. You know, I have customers that primarily sell the carbon and ceramic, but every now and again they get that cheapskate, so they sell them dyed film because I guess that's just what you do. And then they have a problem with the dyed film tacking up too much. And so,
What's up, legends?
anyways, so yeah, one thing that we learn is if you don't use enough solution or soap or slip solution in your mix, film can stick too fast. And obviously, if it's sticking too fast, then you're going to have a struggle with placement and contamination, maybe creases, or maybe dry smudges when you squeegee through it. You can hear the popping, and you're like, oh, that's not good. And it'll leave like a hazy squeegee line that may or may not go away. So that's not good. But on the same note, most tinners that seem to be in the conversations these days are of the newer breed. And just like myself, when I was new, I liked a lot of, I liked a really soapy solution. I liked a really slippery solution. And all Legends is like, just use the Helios Silver 35, and holy cow, does that still reject a lot of heat being a light, that light of a film. Absolutely. You know, one thing you guys are going to find out about me, with my film selection, Helios is my brand. That's call it my name. And so I don't manufacture film. I go out and shop film. And I shop film that I'm willing to put in my box. Well, I've been doing this for about 35 years, and when I purchase film to put in a box with my name on it, I'm doing it as if I'm the tinner. I'm the one out there staking my reputation on what I use. So you'll never find anything junky in any one of my boxes. So if it says Helios, you know that you can stand behind it. The difference between the silver and the DR primarily is that the silver is silver on both sides, and the DR has a black inside and a silver outside. So that's kind of a thing. And but one thing that my choices in film has led me to is I have a company from India manufacture the film for my dyed film. And I'm sure pretty much everybody knows it. And there's a lot of companies out there that use it. But as far as the upgrade films, I struggle with the idea of using metallized films. And this particular company, they have three different tiers of dyed film, and they don't offer a carbon film. Now, I personally like a carbon film. I like the nanotechnology, and I like the fact that carbon is a neutral substance, neutral by being it cannot emit interference, versus an HP film that has metal in it. And although they've adjusted the amount of metal in it, so currently it doesn't emit interference, I struggle with the idea of moving forward with all the technology changes and everything going on, because I was around in 2003 when General Motors decided it was a great idea to put navigation in all of their Cadillac, higher end Cadillac vehicles. And I just happened to have a Cadillac dealership that I did a lot of window tint for. And all of a sudden, it bit me in the ass because in their nav system, they were putting the GPS antenna under the rear package tray. So that's why I stay away from metallized film, because even though up until then, you know, that was 2003, I'd been tinting since 89. So that was 14 years that I never had a problem. And when people say, oh, blah, 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 I've never had a problem, my answer is always until you do, because I never had a problem until I did. Same thing with the Ford mirrors. You know, I've probably removed thousands of Ford mirrors and never broke a windshield until I did. And then I realized that maybe I'm a little too cocky for my own profit management. And same thing with the metallized film, you know. So that's why I only use their bottom level, because this other company that I have manufacturing the carbon film, they do such a great job on the carbon film that I love it, and I want to go with their ceramic film. And so the other reason for the ceramic film is because performance of the ceramic versus the Indian company is equivalent, but the price is like 60% of what the ceramic film price is. And that's the other thing that matters to me, is that I want to bring my customers a product that not only is going to be top notch, but I want to bring them a product that is also affordable, that will help them sell the product. And I mean, don't get me wrong, the other company, you can sell seven, $800, $900 tint jobs if your demographic will allow that. But what I find is that if you can sell $500 to $600 tint jobs in ceramic, it's a lot easier on you, and you can sell a lot more ceramic. So rather than paying $700, $800 for a 40-inch roll of that other stuff, wouldn't it be nice if you can pay somewhere between $400 and $500 for an equivalent film? Now, that brings me to my other point, though. That other stuff has got a super aggressive initial tack. And that's just the type of adhesive that it is. It's something that they developed many, many years ago. It doesn't fail, and they don't see a reason to change it. Where other manufacturers have realized that if you make your adhesive just right, then somewhere down the road, if the film does need to come off, it's not that difficult to get the film to come off with the adhesive. And what they realized is that that super tacky stuff that everybody used to use, it sticks much better to the glass than it does to the polyester. The bottom line is, when it comes time for the adhesive to fail, it's either going to let go of the glass or it's going to let go of the polyester. Same thing when it's time to remove it. It's either going to let go of the glass or it's going to let go of the polyester. Our film lets go of the glass when you ask it to. Where the other stuff, it's great, but if you have to remove it, it's going to let go of the polyester first, and the adhesive is going to stay on the glass. And that's where you need things like ATR or Epic Orange, um, or some sort of an adhesive remover, because this serious aggressive adhesive was designed to bond to glass. It wasn't designed so much to bond to the polyester, where the other stuff is scientifically formulated a little bit more to be equivalent. So if you put a steamer to it, it tends to get tackier on the or on the film side and release, because it's still cooler and it releases on the other side. So that's a lot of the reasoning behind the two different types of adhesives. One is not better than the other. I personally prefer the one that if somewhere down the road I have to remove it, I don't have to work so hard to get the window clean. But they both seem to last the test of time. And the biggest difference between the two is that initial tack when you install it. Now, here's another thing that I noticed. So, wait, Alex, you got a little experience with this because you tint over at the tint shop on Saturdays. What what do you notice when you're switching between the two?
Um, that the orbit's a little tacky, and the nova and supernova are a little less tacky. Charles likes to um make his slip over the fact that orbit is a little tacky. So when it comes time to do the nova and the supernova, it can be I don't know. We're trying to find that perfect balance of super slippery slip, but not a slippery slip. We're trying to find that middle. Um, but it's not bad. I think it's like more beneficial to like have it more orbit friendly because we get more volume of orbit customers than we do Nova and Supernova. Um, and we just kind of deal with it with the Nova and the Supernova. you just take more time when you're doing your quarters. You just like lay the pattern and then you work on something else and then you come back and then you squeegee it out, allowing the time to like tack it up a little bit better. If we're in a rush, you just, use your torch, your little touch up torch, and hit the top edge and it's all good. But it's nothing that's like too crazy, too bad. If I know it's a high volume day and it's a day where I decide I'm going to bring my keg, I'll make my slip a little less than what he has it. So then we can use that for the Nova and the Supernova. Um, Honestly,
So
I
now
think, huh?
that right there is the best thing that I've heard so far. Because one thing that I noticed is the customers that use primarily the Nova and the Supernova, they've adjusted their mix to fit that film and they don't have any tack issues. Because if you use the right amount of slip, as you're probably just about to say, when you bring your tank, you'll mix it in such a way that it works better for the Nova and the Supernova, and then it makes the Nova and the Supernova much easier to work with.
Mm-hmm.
But and that's something that we all end up beating ourselves up with if we don't get our slip solution mixed just right.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're using a consistent film all the time, if you ever switch to film, like let's say for instance you're using global and you're like, well, I want to give this Helios Nova a shot. If you mix your global film or your slip solution just like the global film, and then you switch to the Helios Nova, you're going to be like, this stuff won't stick. But if you cut your slip solution way, way down, and I'm talking like almost in half, you're going to be like, this stuff is great. Here's the other kicker that a lot of people don't think about. You're like, I like the initial tack being so strong. If you use the right amount of slip solution, then you're going to find that the initial tack on any film is really strong. If you don't believe me, try spraying just plain water on a window and taking the least aggressive adhesive film and sliding it. It won't slide. You have to add solution. Here's the science behind it. The more solution you add, the more barrier you're putting between the glass and the film. So if you like it really, really slippery, just remember you're weakening the strength of the adhesive by putting that barrier. Because even though you squeegee all the water out or most of the water out, you're always going to leave a layer of soap film. Now, it's a pretty thin layer, but the heavier you mix your solution, the thicker that layer that's left behind is going to be, rendering the adhesive less effective. But, and also in reality, between the two different films, all you're doing is adjusting the thing that makes the tint not stick to where you can make it stick like you want. Now,
Mm-hmm.
my happy medium, what I found, because I've been using a lineup like that for a long, long time, and Alex has heard me say this, I like my slip solution tacky. And one of the reasons I like it tacky is because I like to upsell to carbon and ceramic. And the carbon and ceramic is much easier to work with if you're not using too much soap. And learning how to use less soap with a tackier film is just like learning how to lay a clean window. You don't lay the clean window the first time and like you're instantly a window tinter making $100,000 a year. You practice and more practice. And a year in, you're like, I think I'm good enough. And then a car kicks your ass and you're like, oh, I got to practice some more. Mixing your slip solution is real similar to that. And one thing that I've noticed when I see these new tinters make a post, I just got a new keg or I just this or I just, how much solution do you guys use? And more times than not, I hear people like, I just do a 5 count. I just do a, I don't hear too much of people using a specific amount like they have a specific measurement that they use. Well, I started selling these measuring cups. This is a little 4 ounce measuring cup. And the reason I did that basically was to make it convenient for tinners to have one. But what I did before I had the measuring cups was I'd go, you can, any Kroger, Rite Aid, any grocery store, any place that sells Tupperware, basically. They sell little, they sell little 4 ounce like dishes with lids. You don't need the lid on it. And we've
Yo,
been doing, me and Matt Blackmere for years have been doing that with the little Tupperware things and just leaving it in the keg and it stays clean. You what?
look, another thing that I noticed, right? So because like I'm the type of person that will like leave fucking slip in my keg all week until like the day I have to tint, right? So like I don't know, like 2 hours, like maybe like 30 minutes to an hour before the customer shows up, I'm like getting my keg all cleaned up. I wipe it out and then I like do it, right? The difference between filling it up and mixing your slip with like hot water versus like warm water versus like cold water. I found that that's made a difference too a little bit. And one thing I do notice too, like say if I have a bottle of all type, right, and I don't tint volume. I get like a job here and there, so I have the 16 ounce where you got to squeeze it and the little thing fills up. If that bottle is cold, it is very hard to get that thing to fill up because it's like super thick. Versus like if it's in my shed in the middle of the summer, it's like water in there, right? And so when I squeeze it, it like fills up right away and it pours out like super easy. In like the early spring or the late fall or in the winter, like when it's like starting to hit 50 and below, like when I try to pour it out, it's like goopy. It's like,
Yeah.
you know,
So
so
Darkside was just saying that he used to do a 3 to 4 count in his tank until he got the measuring cup. And then, like, now he's got a tint buster also, and he still uses the measuring cup in it. I'm curious, Darkside, did you notice that in the switch of seasons as it got colder or as it got warmer? Did you notice that your your solution was self-adjusting when you were doing the 3 to 4 count because it was coming out faster when it was warm and not as fast when it was cold? But yeah, I'm curious about that too. And Mike chimed in. He says he uses his laundry detergent cups. Not sure the exact ounce or milliliters, but 6 marks of the detergent to a keg. And exactly. That's an excellent point, Mike. You don't need to know how much you're putting, unless you're giving advice and you want to give somebody a good starting point. And I tell people to start with 1 ounce per gallon and adjust from there, and mix yourself 1 gallon and put 1 ounce in it, and spray a window and see how it is. And then from there, if it's way too sticky, add a half ounce to that gallon and try again. And T Town says he uses a 5 hour energy bottle for 2 gallons. I love it. I love it. So, I mean, and Legends plastic shot glass cups. As funny as when I was looking for a measuring cup, I was looking for a 2 ounce stainless steel shot glass, and I just thought that would be cool as hell, and I could have Tint Keg logo laser engraved in it, but I just wasn't having any luck sourcing them. And then I found this source for these. This is actually the second measuring cup. The first one I ordered, and I'm glad I ordered a sample because it wouldn't fit down in the hole in the keg, which a lot of people don't think of leaving their measuring cup inside the keg. But as long as your cup isn't gonna, break or degrade, and rust or corrode or any of that stuff, then the safest place for it is going to be in the keg because the lid stays on it, it stays sealed, and your measuring cup stays clean. A lot of people, they'll start, getting contaminations because whatever they use to measure sits on the sink, and the only time it gets cleaned is when they go to use it. Sometimes they rinse it out, sometimes they don't. but also sometimes it's not handy, it's not there, it's lost. You're never going to lose it unless you lose your keg if it's inside the keg. So, um, so yeah, Tint Buster is a real game changer because I can set up two bladders for the day and go to work and notice my tint is much more consistent, and I'm also using less tint slime.
I think
And
we should get some more because I have a feeling we'll sell out as soon as they come in. Because I noticed that it's every day someone gets put on the waiting list or signs up for the waiting list,
for what?
like for the Tint Buster.
Oh, I know. I'm working that out.
Honestly, I would like sacrifice 40-inch boxes for them. I'm just kidding.
Sure,
We got
because then we just don't sell films.
just flip. Well, invert, flip the Avery boxes. Scribble it out with Sharpie.
Don't
Just
have
kidding.
40-inch Avery boxes, so
Yeah, it's true.
it'll be okay. Just relax. We will have more tint busters then. It is in the rotation. How many of you guys are just noticing that this year, this season has been really goofy? Like just when you think that you're getting traction and it started, then all of a sudden you nosedive for a week, you know, and or a day or more than a week.
Oh, that's a good point, Lobo.
Yeah, and because Tint Buster only uses a 5 foot hose, it's easy to clear the hose really quick. That's something when somebody's using a keg with, say, a 30-foot hose, you don't think about how long you have to spray before you get the new solution to the end of the sprayer. And a lot of people will adjust and then they'll be like, well, it's still not slippery enough. But, at 0.2 gallons a minute, and we don't know how many gallons a quarter-inch 30-foot hose is going to hold. And
You gotta
if
do
you,
it until it sputters.
yeah, I tell people that if you want to clean your hose, turn your keg upside down and then spray until air comes out and then flip it back right side up because then you know that you've gotten all the old stuff out and you're back to the new stuff. It has been stupid slow this year. Yeah, it's a strange year. Flat glass film has been picking up this year, and it's funny how the economy works. So automotive tint is more of a comfort or a luxury item for people. It's just not necessary, but it's always historically been cheap enough that people can make bad decisions with window tint and get tint anyways, no matter what our economy's looking like. And that doesn't seem to be the case right now because of all the inflation in all the other areas like groceries, gasoline, utilities. All these things have went up and pay hasn't followed. So then these people have to leave stuff out like that. But also people are starting to think about how can I save money in different areas, whether it be canceling subscriptions to Netflix or driving less or carpooling. They're also starting to learn that they can save on their electric bill in the summertime if they tint their windows. That a lot of heat's coming in, air conditioners running constantly. So if we start capitalizing on things like that, we can keep our business alive, just shifting a little bit with the times, and taking advantage of things, and when you see a trend going on, like for instance, um, that TikTok trend with the dark on the outside and clear on the inside film, ceramic. Ooh, so many tinters just, and I might offend some people, and I'm sorry, not sorry, but if that offended you and you got irritated by that, maybe you need to look at it a different way because um, you have customers coming in asking for tint. You can still educate the customer and explain it to them how the illusion of window film works, But since you're already talking about ceramic and they already came in with the idea that they want ceramic, our upsells to ceramic skyrocketed when that trend started, all because we embraced it rather than pushed it away. And so, if that irritated you and your ceramic sales didn't increase, there might be a connection there with why one. So, we always have to remain flexible when change happens. Same thing with adhesive. There's a lot of fantastic carbon and ceramic window film that doesn't have a super aggressive adhesive. But if you're willing to flex a little and adjust for it, you'll find that you spend less money on your slip solution, still achieve the same job, and then you couple that with embracing the TikToks. And I never had any idea. I don't TikTok, by the way. But
Oh,
today I was
I got
talked
a
into starting.
Matt.
Huh?
Oh, I got a flat glass thing that I've been wondering. So, if you go to like a very popular like metropolis, right? Like say for like Chicago, for example, right? There's not a building out there that doesn't have window tint because that's I don't know, that's just maybe how Chicago works. Like because all the buildings are huge, they got to save on energy. I'm sure like film makes a huge energy bill difference for buildings that massive, right? But like these buildings have probably been tenanted since like I don't know, since the idea of window tint on buildings has ever become a thing. So like how do you go about selling or suggesting new film on a building that's already had film on it for like the last say like 20 years? Like do they know that like film needs to be replaced like ever so often, or like does it even need to be replaced every so often? I know like warranties only last up to 10 years on residentials, or 7 to 10 on, depending on what you go with, but like
So, like, if the tint is not physically failing, the performance properties don't wear out. So, if it's still holding on, it's still looking good, still clear, not beat up, it doesn't need to be replaced. It's, you know, kind of like, I don't know, I don't have a good analogy. But yeah, if it's still looking good, it's still working good. One thing you can do with film that is older is technology now. Technology doesn't stop moving forward over the years. We have better film performance now than we did 10 years ago. So if you see a building that's been 10 years ago and you happen to have a BTU meter on you, check the glass and check the performance of it and check a new film sample against it. If you can show a significant enough difference, that's huge savings. That's good cause for wanting to, because it will pay for itself over time with the consumer. And some of the reason that these huge ass buildings are all tinted isn't because the person wanted a luxury film. It was because they needed, can you imagine how much it costs to, you know cool a 40-story building that's all glass? It's enormous. So as much of that as you can block out, but if you got 10 or 15-year-old film on there that's still looking good, but it's blocking 50 to 60% of the heat, but you have an offering that you can block out 70 or 80% of the heat, it might be worth a discussion to the person. And then of course, if you got some of those that there's people traffic near the windows, so their windows are nicked up, beat up, corners peeling up, because kids have been picking at them and stuff. But those are just going to be small things, and those are also going to be the customer's going to want you to just match what's already there. And we all know it's almost impossible to match a 10 or 15-year-old piece of tint. It might still look good on the building, but it has changed. And like paint, you're not going to match 15-year-old paint.
right.
You can come pretty close, but your new stuff's going to look new. It's going to make the old stuff look old, and you're not going to convince a customer of that until they see it for themselves. And just for aesthetics, they're not going to retain a whole building. So there's a whole lot of variables involved that you kind of have to see. And Lobo said a lot of those buildings are tinted glass, which is absolutely correct. Um, not not film on the glass, and that is true. And the only way you're really going to upsell on something like that is going to be to prove it. Because the customer in his head thinks I have.
Is it
Oh, we're getting
raining?
thunderstorm.
Oh
We're getting
yeah.
thunder.
Hold
What
on.
do you? Oh my God, we got thunder. And Alex is like, I have to leave the live stream now so I can look outside. I made
Whatever.
fun
My
of you,
6 o'clock
Alex.
canceled.
You're 6 o'clock.
Yeah, I had a Kia Optima canceled. And
Oh, damn
a
it.
fucking what do you call it?
I don't know.
Charger taillight,
Oh,
which is fine because I wasn't looking forward to do it anyways.
shitty.
It's a
Need,
lot of taillight for a lot of film for that taillight. Need to take deposits. That's what I said. I actually thought about that today, but I don't know.
another good way to get in with, bigger flat glass is to rub elbows with some of the glass companies that are out doing replacement jobs in bigger buildings, whether it be some lawn guy kicking up a rock or whatever. And um, if you can find the glass companies that are doing a lot of those and doing a lot of new construction builds, then those guys are monumental. And if you offer them a little bit of a kickback per job that they get to you, a lot of them will be happy to mention to a homeowner. And did you know that if, or, somebody having a building built that, window tint can make a much better difference, and a longer term difference than
Do you do
just
you do
buying
you,
a better glass.
do you use the 40% rule for kickbacks?
What?
The 40% rule.
What is a 40% rule?
You know our 40% rule.
We have a 40% rule?
Yeah, I mean technically the 40% rule.
I have no idea what you're talking about. You're just repeating the same words over and over again, and I don't know
No,
what they mean.
like like how much how much money as a tenor do you allow the other tradesmen to make off of your work?
Well, when I was doing wholesale and got out of it, I was billing them 75% of their ticket.
Mm,
So I was allowing them 25%.
okay.
And that's not necessarily by rule. Believe it or not, the reason that I started charging them more was to encourage them to charge more. You want to make more money, you're going to have to charge more money. Because one thing that you learn with letting somebody else sell your product for you is they're opinionated, and they might decide that, oh, your price is too expensive, and you have to find a way to bore through that. And if you're charging them a 60-40 split, then they're happy because they're making a 40% markup. So they don't care if they sell it for $100 or sell it for $1,000. 40% is 40%. And that's the margin that a lot of these business owners want to work with.
Yeah.
And so I tried something different, and I was do anything I want. I love you. Can you actually see us? Grandpa is on YouTube. Well, I'm assuming that's not Brittany. So based on, I'm thinking that's Tom or John, based on the wording. I know it's not Violet, and Lily probably just wouldn't talk to me. and Damien understands how it all works. So, no, I cannot see you.
And now you got SpongeBob and Patrick running happily, going woohoo!
That's great. So,
That's awesome.
yeah, the whole flat glass thing though, it's when I used to look at flat glass, I used to think, how hard can it be? And it's kind of a no-brainer because flat glass film inherently is much more performance based than automotive film too, partly because it's reflective rather than bring Brittany on. I don't think that's Brittany. Brittany doesn't do the SpongeBob and Patrick stuff. That I'm pretty sure is Jonathan or now the question is, are you using Brittany's phone? Because maybe we could bring them on. But I would assume that they're using Brittany's phone. I love you. You're the best in the whole wide world, Grandpa. Yep, that's got to be John or Tom. Because again, Violet can't spell, and well, Damien doesn't talk that way, and Lily's mean to me, and she doesn't call me Grandpa; she calls me Old Man. So, not Brittany because she doesn't call me Grandpa. But whoever this is telling me how wonderful I am and sharing all their SpongeBobness with me, but not going to tell me who they are. But anyway, where was we? Okay. Flat glass. Somehow this got shifted into flat glass. Flat glass is great. And one thing that you can do is, if you want to ease into it, is have flat glass related stuff around your area. If you have a shop, make sure you got some information hanging around the lobby so that when customers come in, they see it. Because at least around here, I can't tell you how many people are like, "Oh, I didn't even realize you could tint houses." Oh my God, those are my favorite because then you can tell them all the advantage and everything, and they're like in because they're already intrigued. And same thing, even if you're tinting at home out of your garage, you know, in the line of sight of where you talk to the customer, take the customer's keys and everything, just have something kind of flashy, about house tint and commercial tint because some of these people actually own businesses and are paying big
and
bills.
and like small talk spreads far, and like it's a small world out there, and who knows, maybe like someone that walked in your shop and seen that poster on the wall or saw that literature hanging around eavesdrops and hears somebody mentioning that like they wish they knew somebody that did something like this, and like there you go. It's just crazy, and like watching DeQuante grow and how everything is word of mouth for him right now, and like how quick he is growing because of that word of mouth is insane.
Yeah.
And
Networking is your biggest advocate for growing your business. I mean, and it's the best because when people will talk good about you, they will talk good about you and they will pressure the new customer for you because they're happy with you, and you never know who you're talking to even or who's going to notice. So the person that you're
yes,
titting the car for him might not even own a, he might still live in his mom's basement, but his buddy that's a lot smarter and a lot wiser, they're still friends because they've always been friends, and his buddy just got a new house and he realizes that that Florida room or that sunroom that he thought he loved and was fantastically amazing is too freaking hot to sit in during the daytime. And then this kid that's still living with his mom in her basement says, "Hey, you need to give these guys a call. They do houses. I bet you that would help." And then boom, you have a customer. And
Legend, shoot us a text at that number, and I'll text you back the new film the glass chart.
sample book. Why is it we're not
Yeah,
supposed to get storms today? What's going on out there?
it's that new El Nino.
Oh, I love it. I love new El Ninos. The old ones are stale. Oh, it's not even much, but it looks like it's going to intensify a little bit. Oh my God. And Mary doesn't have the topper doors on the Jeep, and she had a 4 o'clock job to go do. So wherever she's at, her Jeep's getting soaked, and she's probably not going to be happy when she gets home. Oh, but it's part of the. I love you, Grandpa.
Oh,
You're the best. This is Violet. Oh
something's
goodness.
fishy.
I
Something's
did.
fishy.
I'm not aware that Violet's old enough to spell all that. Are you using voice to chat? What are you doing? How? Hmm. Something is fishy. But I love
Something
that
is
I'm the
definitely
best.
fishy.
I have all the questions now.
There you go, Legends. Got your back, bro.
Oh, Land of the. Oh, where did it go?
Oh, I remember that person.
Yeah.
Just under a different Facebook or YouTube.
He said flat glass seems like too many different forms of glass, and tint can ruin these windows filled with gas. There's wood framed windows that shed shit, and the film. Maybe I just had bad luck with flat. No, flat glass has it just because the glass is flat. There's a lot of variables involved. There is quite the learning curve. It's like as far as if you can get all aluminum or vinyl framed windows that are just clean edges, then flat glass can be really simple. But as you pointed out, there's rules and restrictions because they make flat glass different too. Automotive glass is a lot more durable. It's going to hold up to stuff, and it's only single pane, and most of it's either laminated or, well, all of it's either laminated or tempered, which is going to hold up to whatever film we put on it. So there's not a lot of thought involved in that end of it, where it's just the opposite with flat glass because you're not going to drive a building down the road at 60, 70, 80 mile an hour. So it doesn't have to withstand that. And so the glass in there is usually not tempered. It's not laminated. It's either dual pane, single pane, triple pane, and there's gas in between the layers. And so then if you put a regular black film on it, it's going to absorb all that heat. That gas inside of it's going to expand because it's not reflecting the heat, it's absorbing the heat.
Whoa.
What?
Whoa, Rick, guess what?
No, what?
You remember the solar glass or the flat glass solar control book from IWFA that you used to have to pay like $30 for?
Yeah?
It's free
No
in PDF
way.
form.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, here, look, here's the link, guys. So that book that I bought last year, you don't have to buy anymore. There's the link. I posted it in the chat.
So this book from the IWFA, if you ever wonder what good's the IWFA, they'll come out with things like this book that it'll teach you a lot of things. Um, which of our DR is comparable to Solar Guard?
It
Um,
would be all the True View, I think, or Pure View.
no, TrueView.
It's Purview.
Purview is the ceramic, isn't it?
God, this is embarrassing.
It is embarrassing. Alex is my guy that I let answer all the questions, so careful what you ask him.
Oh, jeez.
True
Oh,
view is the
God.
dual reflective, so the eclipse from Helios will be really comparable to that. The biggest difference you're going to find between the two is the eclipse is
Oh,
the
God.
eclipse is a true dry adhesive, so like it's not sticky at all when you peel the backing off, and it's water activated. Where the Solar Guard stuff is a PS adhesive, although it's a really low tack. Back to the low tack stuff, it's a really low tack PS adhesive, so the initial tack isn't great. And the nice thing about that is it's still easy to place and set and all that stuff. And they expect the adhesive to last 20 plus years when you put it on a building. So uh, they want you to use as little slip in your mix as possible. And you will notice that you won't use near as much slip in your in your solution for flat glass as you do for automotive. And if you're using the same on both, you're using way too much on flat glass. But so that's kind of the trend as far as the lower tack. It lasts longer. I wished I had a good analogy. I'm usually an analogy kind of person, but
My kid just threw up everywhere. She's
oh,
having a
good times.
fever.
Oh no.
It means, but I don't like it.
What kind of partying was she doing while you were away?
Right?
Mom and dad go on their first vacation away from the kids and threw all that stuff out the window, like no rules, they're gone.
What did one of the grandmas do?
One of the yeah. Oh yeah, and even a large window with shade on part of it can crack with film. Seems like most homes are gas filled double pane. Yes. Now love to hear your thoughts. So that's another thing about that link that Alex shared. Read and study that because it's going to cover shade coefficients and it's going to cover, partial shading and the larger windows with partial shade. If you got a hard line, that's tough on the glass. If it's not um, annealed or strengthened glass in any way, you're taking a pretty good size risk, and you got to be careful with that. And that's also why a lot of people are like, well, the film's only $1 to $2 a square foot, and people are out there charging $15-$20 a square foot. Well, there's a reason for that. You're on the hook. Also, if you're gonna go do flat glass jobs, have insurance. Don't fuck around putting film on people's houses that you can't afford to replace. Because I mean, something as simple as having water run down the wall because you didn't realize how much you were using and you squeegeed it out, and they've got this, this flat paint on their drywalls that just wants to absorb everything, and the drywall under the window has swelled, but that room has been painted for 10 years, and you're not just going to replace the drywall under the window and paint the part under the window. And they're not going to allow you to come in and do it. They're not going to allow you to come in and pick who does it. They're going to hire their own contractor to come in and fix it. And the entire room is going to get painted. And it's going to cost you, for that little mistake, thousands of dollars. And
Wow. It even has a guide on how to identify the problem when the window cracks based on how it cracks. So it has thermal stress fractures and it has frame issues. Oh man, I didn't even know that was like a thing.
just imagine if you would have read this book that you bought.
Yeah.
It's okay. It happens to
Crazy.
all of us. We get excited about something, we buy something, and it just seems like a lot more than we thought we signed up for. So we just set it aside. Um, what'll be the warranty for Helios flat glass films? 20 years? No, we're gonna go with 10. That's another thing too, is for the Helios films, I'm gonna cover the film. I'm not gonna cover the replacement cost. So there's that get what you pay for thing. A company like Solar Guard, which is gonna be damn near in a lot of cases double what my film is, they're gonna cover glass breakage. So, if you put film on a approved window and 2, 3 years down the road, that window cracks and is proven to be as a result of the film, Solar Guard's going to put a new window in there for them.
Tim, I think we try to book our last job for the day like at 5, and then basically whenever that one's done, we're done. Unless Charles feels nifty and wants to do a drop off after.
And lately, with this year being funny the way it is, it doesn't seem to matter what time the tint shop closes because, technically they close at 6, but I close at 5, and usually Mary beats me home. And they close when the jobs are done. Um, they have this wonderful tinner that is a little bit prima donna-ish, and he doesn't think that he can get it all done in a day, but he always gets it all done early. So I just got off the phone with a guy and get that a lot of calls wanted to bring it after 4:30, and I close at 5. And that's the other thing, in the beginning when we first opened the tin shop, we closed at 6, and we would take jobs all the way up until 6. So we didn't try to book 6 o'clock jobs. And if we had openings before the 6 o'clock, we wouldn't offer the 6 o'clock slot. We wasn't going to wait there until 6 o'clock when we've been sitting around for 2 hours not doing anything. But if we could book a day and somebody also wanted to bring in at 6, hell yeah. But that's strictly up to you. And there's guys out there that are going to burn themselves out and work until 10 o'clock every damn day. And I don't recommend doing that because it's hard to sustain that way. You get burned out, and yeah.
Well, it's almost that time.
Oh my God, it's 4:59. Holy cow, this hour went quick. It goes quick when you have something to talk about. And honestly, guys, I hope y'all, either learned something or looked at things from a little bit different perspective because our industry is changing. And it bye-bye, Violet. Our industry is changing, technologies are changing, and we have to change with them. But one thing that we don't like as an industry is we struggle with change. But if we learn to embrace change, a lot of times change is for the better. Like for instance, having a less tacky initial tack, you use less solution or slip in your solution, and that saves you money because then you buy less. And oh yeah, raise prices, everyone. That's you know, I guess let's end it with that. If you're still here and watching, every year, every single year, you have to have a price increase. One thing I started back in '89, and by 2003, or 2003, by 2010, um, when I started in '89, we were tinting cars for $225 for a dyed film, and when I started working for myself in 2010 or 2011, we were down to like 169 for a car. And one thing I can promise you is over all those years, film prices didn't go down. Tool prices didn't go down. Nothing got cheaper. Rent didn't go down. But for some reason, as an industry, we were pushing our prices down. And that just needs to collectively be stopped. We all need to add a little bit every year to help adjust for inflation. Otherwise, one day we'll realize that we're working too hard, not making enough money, and the amount that we'll have to raise our prices will scare our customer base away. But if you raise for a complete car, typically on average $10 a year, you'll keep up. Some years it'll be easier than others, but nonetheless, typically you'll keep up. And you can adjust, plus or minus from that, and we were 10 years ago, 12 years ago, we were like 180. 10 years ago, we were like $189 for a complete. We're $300 for a complete right now in dyed film. So that was just incremental changes. That wasn't like all of a sudden we were like, holy shit. That was just preparing for inflation. Does what inflation's always done. It's not going to stop. It's not going to slow down, and it's not going to feel sorry for you. It's just going to happen. So, yes, land of the blinded, 100% raise your prices and keep climbing with them. Don't worry about what the other guy's doing or how cheap he's doing it for. Remember, if there's a guy out there still doing $99 tint jobs, he can only do so many in a day. And there's a lot more available to you than what that guy can do. So if that's on your mind, accept that you can have his leftovers and still make plenty of money. And besides that, if he's $99 and you're $300, that means he has to tint 3 times the cars and still ain't going to make as much money as you, because if you tint a third of the cars, your cost is a third versus his cost. So with that being said, guys, Alex, any last thoughts?
Nope.
Nope. Alex is mad because his job canceled. It's stupid.
Well, I don't know if I would have made it anyways, because we might have to go to the doctor for the baby. So
That whole talk about a whole twist of the day. It's not what you expected when you came today. All right, guys. Well, Alex
later.
got things to do. I got the things to do too. And you guys, it was great. We will definitely see you